I brought a flag from Bolivia. This is a huipala. We hold it like that from the top up, the white bit in the middle. This symbolizes our diversity. We're all different, but we're all equal. And the white goes in the middle because white is knowledge, is education, basically. And I don't know how much you know about Bolivia, but I mean,
Mother Earth rights.
Mother Earth rights, yes. But Bolivia is mentioned in Karl Marx's Capital, and the reason it was mentioned Bolivia is because Karl Marx recognizes that Potosí, the silver mountain of Bolivia, had contributed to the accumulation of capital here, and I think Potosí is 4,000 meters on the sea level. Potosí is the richest silver mountain in the world, and in 1600 it had a population greater than London or Paris. There were 200,000 people there. And the other thing is that we managed to survive. We are 65% of the population in Bolivia indigenous, and we managed to survive. Why? Because the wealth that the Spanish wanted was over 4,000 meters on the sea level, and when they brought people from Africa to come and work on the mines, they died because of their attitude, sickness, and that's basically what saved our lives. The other thing is that the relationship that indigenous people have with the land and nature helped us to survive. I mean, one of the things that we consider sacred is Mother Earth. We consider Mother Earth a living thing. We attribute Mother Earth the same 5 senses that we have. So Mother Earth can see, can smell, can taste, and drinks, thirsty, and also listens. So in our festivals, we always start with if we're going to drink wine or chicha, which is what we do, is our corn wine, we always drop a little bit for the Pachamama, because we think Pachamama should drink first and then we drink. So when you go to a Bolivian festival, you're going to see people doing that all the time. Another thing that we do is we kiss our food or we blow, because we think that Pachamama can smell. So this concept helped us to survive. Why? Because we believe that the coca leaf was given to us by Mother Earth, because the coca leaf helped us to work high altitude. So with the reason we were able to work in those mines, in the Potosí mines, were because we had a coca leaf. So we chew the coca leaf, and it was protecting these coca leaves that we managed to get to where we are. So I'm just going to try and explain that. So we were under colonization until 1825. 1825 we had our independence, but 5% of the population controlled everything. You had to be white, speak, read and write in Spanish, and own property in order to vote. So 5% of the population could only vote in Bolivia. In 1952, though, we had the most radical revolution in the continent. It's as radical as the 1917 in Russia. In 1952, there was a power struggle between some political parties, and the miners and the peasants managed to organize and defeat the army in Bolivia. Now that revolution nobody talks about. Many people know about Cuba, but this is before Cuba. In 1952, the Bolivian Revolution nationalized the bank, nationalized the big mining companies, and we had land redistribution, land reform, yeah. And that means, and one of the reasons they said we were so successful was because we were still one of the regrets the ruling class had was that they did not exterminate indigenous population, because having indigenous population was a danger. Why? Because the indigenous population know the area, know the land, they live together, they know the product. One example is the potato. You have the potatoes here. There were potatoes in Ireland. There was famine in Ireland because their diet was based on the potato. When the potato got disease, the whole thing rotted.
And also the British were exporting lots of
at the same time, yeah.
At the same time, while
Okay, well, in Bolivia, potatoes were domesticated in Bolivia, but we have 2,000 varieties, 2,000 of which 120 at least are eatable. And when you have a variety like that, and when you rotate and when you mix with other things like quinoa and other products, you're not going to have the same danger. We never had potato famine, for instance. And they asked me, Alan, how do you do that? Well, the Inca Empire developed systems to store. So we have a system by which we dehydrate the potato and you can store for hundreds of years. So that was the Inca Empire, from which this flag comes from. So we have the methods and the knowledge, the information, the education. We know the plants. We know which plants we can eat, which ones are eatable. One that now has become very famous is quinoa. Now, quinoa was considered indigenous, therefore white Europeans didn't eat it. So, but that was our main food. It was cheap and it was free. It was for us. Indigenous people in Bolivia they say that for a culture to develop, you need 7,000 years at least to develop their own identity and the culture. Well, the Bolivian Aymaras and Quechuas and the people there, they've been there for thousands of years. We know that because they found tombs with coca leaves, with potatoes, with chuño, so we know that our culture is ancient, is older than the Egyptian culture. So in 1952 we had a revolution. Then we started a process of going back and into the neoliberal system. So they started privatizing everything. By 1999, they had privatized everything. When I say everything, I mean including the cemeteries. And but in 1999, they passed a law by which they were privatizing the rain. Yes, but that means the control of the water. You see, because in Bolivia, the water is still under indigenous management. Still, the people organize, they work, they use collective work to provide water. And so under this new legislation, the government had the power to give in concession to a private company, and people that wanted to collect rain, they had to get a license or a permit. So the indigenous people started organizing, and then the information passed to the people in the cities and the students, and all these demonstrations and all these issues that we have. People had different issues, from pensioners to students. People that had loans from the bank, that they had taken their houses, the property. All these different issues came together under one banner, and it was water is life. Water is life, is the milk of our mother. We cannot privatize. So under that banner in Cochabamba, which is in the middle of Bolivia, 200,000 people mobilized, which was the whole population of Cochabamba mobilized, and they did the unthinkable, because until then, until 2000, until April 2000, the idea that you cannot go back, privatization was the only way forward. You cannot go back to make it public. You cannot go back and nationalize. That's impossible. Nobody's doing it. You're not going to be able to do it. And they did it. And for people like me, Bolivian people who could speak English, our duty was to go out and to tell the world tell everyone. I went and I told everyone. Believe me, there were people on the left that didn't want to hear. They were not interested. They would say they're peasants, they are not workers, this is not a victory of a socialist victory, we're not interested. Oh yes, very, very interesting. There are lots of things like that happening in the world. Nonetheless, as we went and we told everybody, it was really good. We managed to break the media wall, because we have this media that tells us what we want to know or what we're supposed to know, and they don't tell us the real important information. And that was in 2000. In 2003, what was local, it became national. So this time the nationalization and the slogan was, we want gas, we want to nationalize the oil and gas for all, because we were exporting gas. 60% of the gas in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, is Bolivian. 60%. But in Bolivia, in La Paz, you couldn't buy gas. You had to buy gas in a container, and it was very difficult to find gas. So this time the mobilization was for gas and oil. And in 2005, we managed to have our own government. For the first time, an indigenous president. But it's not just that he's indigenous, because we had indigenous leaders before. He was indigenous, but he came from the grassroots. He was a trade unionist, he was a cocalero, he was somebody who was elected from the grassroots, who understood what we wanted, and he was principled, and he still is. This is Evo Morales. So something that we fought for, which was water. Another thing was to have food sovereignty. So these indigenous ideas, this flag in the past, if the police caught you with this flag, they will arrest you. They would burn this flag. Now is the national flag. So can you imagine? It go from a small revolutionary group to a huge, the party of the masses, and also the ideas, because we've been 525 years resisting colonization. So 525 years, but now is the time to recover, to collect our memory, to recover, and that's what we're doing. And one of the results of our collective memory, one of the results of our struggles was to take the notion that the water cannot be a commodity, that water is a human right. So we took that, Bolivia took that to the United Nations in 2010. Water, until then, was considered a commodity. This was declared in Belgium. They declared a commodity. Imagine, water, a commodity, something that you can buy and sell. Water is not a commodity. Water is a human right. That was Bolivia, the poorest of the world, the poorest of the poor. The indigenous people, the original people of the New World, this was the present for the world, is that water is a human right. Then in 2010, I went to, 2009, I went together with the indigenous group that was representing Bolivia in Copenhagen. I had to go to interpret help. And in there, Evo Morales saw that the people were not participating in the decisions. The Bolivian government, the Bolivian negotiators were sitting there to negotiate, and behind the Bolivian negotiators, in the chair behind, there were trade union representatives, indigenous people representatives behind, overseeing the work that the Bolivian negotiators were doing. But in the British representatives, behind the British representatives, or behind the Spanish or all European leaders, there were multinationals. And so we could see our enemy was so much bigger it's not a national thing. It's like we have all these multinationals. There is no borders for them. So we went to a stadium in Copenhagen where Evo Morales and Chavez at the time interacted with young people that had attended. And they did they said, well, let's have a people's conference, not multinationals conference about climate change. So he invited people to come to Cochabamba. Unfortunately, there was a problem with the ashes, the volcano, so many people couldn't come. But in any case, I went, and it was wonderful because then we could see that it wasn't just Bolivians, it was a world understanding that we cannot, for instance, the tax, the carbon tax, and all that. What it's eventually doing is privatizing the rainforest. It's privatizing things. So who can spend or waste more is the person that has more money. And we cannot do that. We have to move away from the idea of money. In Bolivia, we have something which is aptapi. Aptapi is a collective meal that we eat together. When we have that collective meal, we say, let's all go together. Let's not leave anybody behind. That everybody has everything, that nobody is left without. Because that is a horizontal meal. There is no hierarchy. So when we eat, we have to eat all together. And nobody can be ignored or left behind. Nobody can be left without. And there is no waste. Nothing to throw, no leftovers. When we finish, everybody has to take some, especially the ones that are going to travel farther. And that principle, and until now we still have collective land. So when the indigenous people still own the land collectively. So if somebody wants to leave the community, they leave, but they don't take the land and they cannot sell their part. So while they're there, they have their land to work. But when they leave, they leave. And I think it's important to look at the New World or to Abya to America, to look at not just the place where you have the rainforest and you have resources, you have gold and tin and lithium, but also where we have human resources, where we have the memory, the human memory, our collective memory, how we can live taking care of everyone. Because in this world, we have enough for everybody. We don't need to have homeless people. We don't have to have ill people in the street because they cannot afford medical care. Mother Earth provides for all of us. And I mean, that's what Mother Earth rights is. We're recognizing that Mother Earth is a living thing. And we need to look after Mother Earth, and Mother Earth will look after us. I think that's all. Thank you.